Welcome to the One Player Podcast. I'm Albert, and this is episode 396.
Albert, why did the vacuum cleaner break up with the broom?
Um, because she sucked.
Because the broom was sweeping around.
Sweeping around, huh? Not because she sucked?
No, I'm afraid not, Albert.
No, okay.
Albert, what are we talking about today?
Today, we're talking about Power Vacuum, a trick-taking game that I've only just heard of, actually.
It is a treasonous trick-taking game.
Okay, so that's interesting. It's a game about power plays and maneuvers. It sounds like it definitely can't work as a solo game, which is really surprising.
I know. That's one of the reasons why I want to talk about it, because this has secret objectives. This has definitely power plays between the players trying to fulfill your secret agendas. It's got trick taking across the different players. It is, nominally a 2 to 5 player game, but there's a solo mode, and I wanted to talk about it.
Okay, cool. I mean, I like trick taking games, and this one looks really nice. Actually, I saw pictures of it and I said, "Wow, I want to get this."
So, Albert, I think that probably counts for us doing the high level discussion about it. Let's hop straight in to some of these more specific points. Shall we begin with some talk about the components?
Before we do that, a little bit more about the theme. It's not just political power plays, but it's political power plays by appliances.
Technically, yes.
Okay.
The former leader, who was a giant vacuum, has died, also known as the Supreme Appliance, has died. And so different appliances are now trying to take over control. And so you're controlling one of those different factions. And so over the course of the game, you're going to be playing tricks and either winning or losing tricks based upon how you want to try and have 40 points. First player to get 40 points wins.
Okay. I love that it's a power vacuum because a vacuum died.
Yes.
That's just so silly. That's
it
fantastic.
Is very tongue-in-cheek, and I was going to be talking about that in the components, but we'll talk about that right now. It is a silly theme. The theme works because you are trying to have the most amount of points, and so it gives some motivation for it, but it is definitely silly in terms of the art, in terms of the anthropomorphic appliances, in terms of the statues that you get to build. All of it gives that silly fun vibe that you're looking for. That means that what can otherwise be sometimes a little bit backstabbery doesn't feel nearly as much so, because it's kind of fun.
That is cool. This sounds really cool. And the statues, I want to hear more about the statues. Actually,
Well, then, Albert, why don't you just let me get into the components?
Yes.
I was like, Albert, let's do components. And Albert's like, no, tell me more about theme. And I'm like, are you sure? And I was like, sure. Then let's talk about components. Albert.
I want to hear more. I just want to hear a lot more.
More about the components. I'm going to talk about the statues last, just to build your anticipation.
Okay, Albert, that's fair.
In this game, you are trying to score points. You want to get 40 points. Generally, the way you show that you have a point, is these small little lightning tokens. Each of those lightning tokens is 40. Each of the big power tokens is 5, and each of those statues that I'm not yet talking about are worth 10. If at the end of a round you've gotten your full 40, then you win, and that means that you are going to be declared the Supreme Appliance, and you've done a great job. Those small power tokens are both points, and they're also going to be power that you're shifting on the board. Now, for the main game, there's a circle board that is laid down on the table, and there are 5 different factions. There is green, yellow, white, red, and brown. So those 5 different factions, you're going to each player represent one of those 5 different factions, and you're vying for those. So those factions, as well as a blank spot around the board, are all represented on that circular board.
That the green, does it look green? The picture I'm looking at looks like a gray, like a washed out gray.
What in the world are you looking at that looks gray?
It's a picture of the board in BGG. And I see 4 or 5 colors in there, and one of them looks like gray.
There's technically 6 colors that you're looking at.
Oh.
There's white on the top.
Yeah.
And then green on the right. And brown on the left. Gray on the bottom.
That's a different picture than the one I'm looking at, but okay.
I don't know what you're looking at then, Albert.
It's some other picture of the board.
So, Albert,
There's a
there's
few out
this
there.
board with circular pieces. It is a like triple layer board, I think it counts as, because the middle
Oh,
of it is hollow and all of your tokens go in the middle. All of your power tokens go in the middle. And then there's around a loop that shows where each of the factions are. And so over time, you're going to be giving each of the sides powers. There's also a cord, and each side of the cord has a white plastic bit, and that white plastic bit has a magnet in it. The board,
oh,
the circle board, has magnets embedded into it. So you're going to be plugging in the appliances over the course of the game. That is going to determine how power is transferred around the board. You can plug in, say, the green appliance to central power, in which case you will either give or receive power from central power, or you could, for example, plug in red and white, because you're always plugging in the two sides of that cord. You can plug in red and white, in which case you're going to be transferring power between red and white. It is a fun little magnet piece. Each of those spots have a recessed, what you would consider a two-layer board area for it. So the plugs hold in there very nicely, but they're very easy to move around because it's just a magnet on a thing. So it lines up very nicely, goes in very easily. All of that is very good and nice and easy to use. Each of the players have their own board that is going to be used to show which color they are representing. Ideally, lay yourself out so that the central board matches the directions that you're all at. It's much easier to do. It's much easier to do if everyone matches the spots that they're all at. But otherwise, everyone has their own appliance boards. Those appliance boards also have a cube that you're going to be tracking of those appliance boards that are going to be used to match your secret agendas. It's a cube on a track. There's nothing too particularly exciting about those, other than that they are two-layer boards. So the
mm-hmm.
cubes hold in there very nicely, but it's a cube on a track. It is what it is. Everyone has the agenda card, so there are 10 agenda cards. These are secret cards that have thumbs up and thumbs down on them, and you're going to use them to say, hey, my secret agenda is that red's going to be doing great and white's going to be doing horrible. So you'll hide that from at least the start of the game. You are hiding that secret agenda. It's a little agenda card. There are then the main deck of cards. As with many trick takers, there is a whole deck of cards. Those cards come in 4 different suits with a Trumpish suit. I'll get to how Trump works later.
Okay.
A Trump-ish suit. So there's red, yellow, green, white, and then the Trump-ish suit, which is brown. So those are all shuffled together and everyone plays with it. Unique about those cards, though, is that the back of the cards matches the suit. So the front of the cards, if it's green, it'll say green 2 or green 8. The back is still going to be green. So someone who's looking at your hand splayed out like you're supposed to do, they can see, hey, you've got green cards. I
Wow.
see you've got green cards. So if I want to make sure that you play out your green cards, I'm going to play green. Or if I want to make sure that you play off suit, I'm going to play not green because I see you've got nothing but green. So you can see a lot of information about the other player's hand by looking at the back of their card.
Wow, that's so different from any trick taking game I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
That is really interesting.
Yeah. So in terms of one more thing, there are these level markers that show thumbs up and thumbs down, because as I mentioned with those agendas, you're trying to say, hey, I think red's going to do top and white's going to do bottom. Every round you'll mark which ones get top and bottom with these level markers. I have the deluxe version. So I have nice wood statues instead of cardboard pieces of statues, things like that. There were some nicer wood markers that came to show these things, and I actually think the cardboard is nicer than the wood in this case, which is
Wow, okay.
different because the wood is really thin and the cardboard is thicker than the wood and clearer than the wood. So yeah, I'm not quite sure how that happened. So yeah, there's level markers for this. Now then, about those statues, because they're cool
Mm-hmm.
and have a really nice table presence, at least in my version of the game. With my version of the game, they are nice wood chunky pieces. They're thick, chunky
Yep.
pieces. With the standard version of the game, they're chunky-ish cardboard tiles. And if you get the deluxe version of the game, it comes with both. I have the deluxe. I am who I am. That probably doesn't surprise anyone listening to this.
No.
So the cardboard ones also look nice. The art is really fun. It's 5 versions of each piece. So foundation, bottom, middle, and head. And so the idea of the game is that whenever you get 10 points, you trade them in for a statue. And so you are building up your statue. So the player that wins and gets 40 theoretically has a fully built statue. And when you're playing, you get this nice statue. It really shows up. It's got nice table presence. It looks really cool that you're building the statue. And by winning, you throw your
You
full
get 10
statue there
percent.
in the middle, and you're like, I'm the guy with the statue. I'm awesome.
Yeah, and these are very solid looking pieces of wood. They are screen printed. They're gray, so it looks like stone, like a statue, and they're
Mm-hmm.
screen printed. And each piece is different, right? So
Right.
there's I don't know how many pieces, like 20 or 30 or something, right?
There's 5 of each
Five of
type,
each.
and there's 4 different types.
Okay.
And there's
And
a
so
picture of each type in the rule book.
when you're playing, are you? Oh, okay. So it's not, you can't really mix them and match them. That's not the intent. You get
You
the
can
if
mix
you
and
have
match.
the is that the intent though, or like if you have the guy on the horse, is it supposed to be the same piece of the torch guy every time, or can you put the tank on the horse? Is that
So
what's
what
the
I find
intent?
funny is that you say the horse goes to the torch guy. In the rules, the horse actually goes with the guy with with a naked chest. There are no
Okay,
rules,
well there
good
you
sir.
go.
You can do
Okay.
however you want. In fact, technically, according to the rules, if you wanted to have just all the heads, technically you're allowed. It's just weird. Um, what I find a personal anecdote, which is quite funny. The one time that this happened, that someone decided to be quite weird, they decided to have 2 bottoms and 2 heads for their statue because they're weird. And the other player who was building a more classic statue. And the tie break for the game, if you have an issue where the game comes out in a tie, the tie break for the game is whoever has the prettiest statue. So it was a tie between these 2 players, and everyone else is like, well, the one that isn't weird, the
Is
one that isn't
prettier.
weird is determined to be the prettier one. So we play with that. Now, granted, the rules don't say anything about who should be considered that and whatnot. But yeah, I thought that was awful funny when
That's
that happened.
hilarious. Yeah, like, and that sounds like some. It sounds like your kids were building the
I
statue with the
admit
two
to
heads.
nothing that my son did.
Yeah, it sounds like a yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And
this
the
is
way it
a
turned out was delicious irony.
that's great. And by any chance, were you the other player with a normal statue?
No,
No.
I was not.
Okay.
Someone else who had come over was. But
Okay.
my sister was annoyed because he took her head. Why? Because he's a punky little kid.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's the age range there, isn't it? So okay. So
Yep.
these components, just in general, all of them look fun to play with. Not just the statues. The statues look super fun, especially if you have the non-cardboard version. If you have the cardboard versions, they don't stand up. Your statue lays down flat.
Yes. No,
Seems
my
less
set.
fun.
Yeah. I mean, it's still fun. It still looks nice. The,
Right.
the
Yeah.
cardboard pieces still look really
Just
good.
less fun. Yes, they do. So all the components, the board with the little magnets, everything just looks fun. The art style is fun. It really looks great.
Uh
The
huh.
like the box cover, it has, and a lot of the components, like a muted, washed out sort of color, reminds me of like 1940s
40s.
sort of
Yep.
art. Yeah,
Yep.
propaganda art
It
specifically.
looks like 40s type style, just with
Yeah,
anthropomorphic you know, appliances.
appliance. Yes, which is just the dumbest thing ever. I love that. That's great. Okay.
So, Albert, I think we've probably talked about theme. I think we've talked about components. Just to make sure to give for the rules are just fine. It's the first time I've seen where they have like tabs on the rules. I'm not quite sure
Oh,
why I've never seen this before, but the rules have like tabs, so you can pop to the tabbed section that you're looking for. When I've organized like technical manuals of things, you'll commonly have tabs. This one has tabs. It was just nice to see tabs.
that's good. Now
But
they're
it made
not
it really
real
easy.
tabs in that they don't pop out of the. They're not like tab pages where it sticks out. They're printed onto the
True.
page,
They're
but they
printed
definitely
onto it, but it just makes
it makes
organization
it clear.
easy.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does make it clear if you're flipping through there.
Yeah. So the rules are very good, easy to use the rules, easy to understand, easy for the solo mode, so no issues with the rules.
And the tabs are makes sense because they're in a file folder. The page looks like a file folder,
Oh yeah.
with the file folders tab and insider tab pages.
And the solo mode is a specific tab all by itself.
Oh, nice. Okay. I see solo mode tab. That's the last one. Nice.
There you go. But this is definitely going to trigger Albert for the solo mode rules.
Yeah,
But
because
that's
it
okay.
says is the first rule of the solo game is learn how to play multiplayer. Yeah, solo game and
Yeah.
Power Vacuum uses the same rules as for multiplayer, with these
Yeah.
exceptions.
We'll get back to it. We'll get back to it.
Okay.
Albert, let's talk about the multiplayer game for a minute, okay?
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, because we have to before we can explain the solo.
So, this is a trick taking game. For those of you who have not heard what a trick taking game is, this is like Hearts, is perhaps the most common classic trick taking game where everyone has a hand of cards and there's different suits, and you'll lead with a particular suit, and everyone must play in that suit if they have it. So, if you lead with spades, everyone has to play with spades. Whoever has the highest number of spades wins, unless someone plays a trump. If someone plays a trump suit, say a heart, for example, if you're playing hearts, if someone plays a trump, then that trump is going to win and they're going to keep it unless that trump is beaten by an even higher trump. So you generally have to follow the suit that is being played unless you are all out of that particular suit, in which case you can go to somewhere else. Those general rules for trick taking apply for this one as well. Everyone has a hand of cards. As mentioned, what suits you have is generally known because it's all visible on the back of your cards. Whoever is playing must lead with a particular suit, and then everyone else must follow if they have that suit. For this game, the red suit is considered trump. So if red is played on yellow, green, or white, it beats the other ones and it's going to win. The brown suit is called the spy suit. It is a super sneaky one. Brown suits are special in that there's only 4 of them instead of 8 that everyone else has. And instead of appearing brown on the backside, they actually appear whatever suit on the other side. So there's one of each. There's a yellow, a white, a red,
Oh,
and a green. So the yellow brown suit appears yellow on the back, so you won't know that you have it. And brown is a trump that can always be played. So unlike red, red can only be played if you have a way of breaking suit, if you have a way of getting out of suit. Brown can always be played, but brown doesn't beat anything other than red, the other suit. So it
oh,
can beat the trump, but it loses to everything else. Okay?
okay. Yep.
So those are the 5 different suits. If you win a trick, then you have 2 options for what you could do when you win a trick. You can either just get a point, and again, 40 points wins, or you can decide that one of the cards that's being played, you're going to keep it for next round. So, for example, if you played the 8 red, well, that's I'm going to say the best trump, even though it's not. Hold up just a second for why. That's the highest trump. So you may say, hey, my 8 just won. I'm going to keep that 8 so that I have the 8 next round, and that way I can win a suit again next round. Right?
Great idea.
Not really, but we'll get back to why in just a second. So that's the idea of if you win, you either get a point or you can capture a card. Now, the majority of your points are actually not going to come from winning suits. The majority of your points are going to come from messing around with the control board. Whoever plays the lowest numbered card gets to mess around with the control board. Messing around with the control board is how you're going to achieve your agendas. Everyone has an agenda, and it has a pair of suits on them. For example, red and white. Whenever you decide to reveal your agenda, you are playing it one way or the other. So, for instance, you say red is top, white is bottom. If at the end of the round, in our example, red has the most and white has the least, you get some amount of points for having achieved your agenda. I'll get back to how many points you get in a minute. But you get a certain number of points for having completed your agenda. The way to complete that agenda is by moving power around the board. At the start of the round, on your central board, every suit or faction, I'm going to start calling them, every faction has 2 power. If you played the lowest numbered card, you get to move power across the whatever is plugged in. So on that board, two things are plugged in. Let's say red and white is plugged in. If you played the lowest number card, you're going to move power from white to red because you want white to be the least and red to be the most.
Mm-hmm.
So you move power across them, and then you have to move one of the two plugs. So, for example, I will move the red plug over to the gray area, to the brown suit, to brown faction, so that now white and brown are plugged in. So the next person who plays the lowest card in the trick, the next person playing the faction board, they can't touch my red. My red stays really powerful. They can only mess with white and brown. So maybe they'll take some power away from brown, or maybe they'll take some power away from white, whatever they do. They're not messing with my next turn. So playing that lowest numbered card is probably more important than who
Mm-hmm.
actually wins the trick, which does mean that, for example, the one red is a super powerful card
Mm-hmm.
because the
Yep.
one red is trump, so you'll win and get a point, and it's also the lowest card of the round. Even though you won, you get to do both. So when you play that one red, you're very often to say, hey, I don't care about the point. I'm going to keep it because I know it's the lowest one for the round, and it still lets me keep doing that over and over again. So I'm going to both keep it and mess with power, right?
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That that seems like a great strategy.
Right. So that is the push and pull of different things because you want to both win, so you keep those low power ones, so you keep them so that you can keep messing around with the board and get a bunch of points off the control board. But you also want to both win tricks so that you can keep them and do both things. So there's both of them going on. Now, I do think you want more to be messing around with the control board. So there's a lot of stuff that pushes and pulls across that. Your agendas, we'll talk about those for a minute. Your agendas are based on at the start of each round, there's secrets. So you have, I mentioned this example, you have a white and a red agenda. At the start of the round, it's in your hand, so either one could be top or bottom. Before you play your card, you will decide whether or not you want to reveal your agenda. And whenever you do that, each half of your agenda is worth the amount of cards you have when you do that. So if you play round one, you've got 8 cards in hand, you reveal your agenda, each half of your card, whichever is top or whichever is bottom, is now worth 8 points. But you're locked in for the whole round. People know, for example, that you're pushing red. People know that
Mm-hmm.
you're unpushing white. People are going to try and mess with you for the whole round because your information is out there, but it's worth 8 points each. That's a total of 16 points. That's really nice. And if you only get one of them, that's still 8 points. So that's still really
Mm-hmm.
nice. You get out there fast. If you wait till mid round, for example, you could only get 5 points per, but everyone else has revealed some information. You started to push it. You started to do some things. So you get less points, but you had some time to start angling into it. Once you're halfway through the round, though, you are forced to keep it secret for the rest of the round. At that point in time, you reveal it only at the end of the round. And at the end of the round, it is 14 points, all or nothing. You can't score the bottom and the bottom and the top half of your agenda cards separately. It is 14 points, all or nothing, which is the same as if you did it when you had 7 cards on hand. So it's all or nothing now. So by staying secret, you gained a lot more. So a lot of the times people are trying to guess, hey, he's keeping his cards secret. It looks like he's trying to push this towards red, trying to make red even higher. Or I think this person is an ally, so I'm going to be like helping them, and hopefully I can at least piggyback on with them and get points. Or as I think often happens, people will just throw those out there really fast and let everything in to push it. Maybe that's just because our strategies are not that well defined, but that's the general idea of how does them going. That's how it works with agenda cards.
How many tricks are you playing in a hand?
There are 8 tricks in a hand, so you have a hand of 8,
Okay.
and there are as many rounds as it takes until someone gets 40 points.
Does the stuff reset after each hand?
Yes, with a couple more specific nuances, but yes, everything resets each hand. Uh, yeah, see the
Okay.
rulebook for specifics on what stays.
Yeah. So it sounds like you then sort of have about eight chances to manipulate stuff before things reset. Then you have to sort of start over.
Yes, but your
Okay.
agenda also resets every 8 hands.
Yeah. Okay. So it's interesting. And if it's a 5-player game, chances are you're only going to do one or two things each hand because you can't win every hand.
Well, first of all,
Or or lose every hand, whatever.
Well, if it's a 5-player game, it's 8 hands no matter the player count.
Eight cards in the hand,
Right.
but only one person is going to be able to manipulate the things for each.
Oh, yes, that's theoretically true. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So I was just
You
trying to
also, by the
understand. It
way,
sounds
get
like you're limited.
points. Any points at the end of the round that's by your faction on the central board, you also get those as points, by the way.
Ah, okay. So you may want to just manipulate your color to be really powerful, just so you get those points, even if you don't
Yeah.
necessarily have that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
that
Okay. There's
ties
a lot
into
of
everything
different.
too. Yes.
There's a lot of different points you could get in this game. A lot of different ways. No, a few
Yep.
different ways.
Plenty of things going on. Plenty of people messing with other people trying to make all that work. The idea, and now I'm going to move on to my thoughts about it. This idea of there being secret alliances and betrayals and like teaming up and ideas and logic doesn't really flow over for, at least when I've been playing the game, doesn't really flow out. There's not a lot of people doing backstabbing or openly trying to be like negotiating and having table talk like, hey, he's trying to do red, stop him, or like we need to team up for this person. The only time I really see that happening is, your classic last round of the game when someone's like, he's gonna win, guys, don't let him win.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's like, you just want to win, I don't want you to win. He has to win so that I can win. Like it's the way it's going to go, but I'm not going to do that. So like even that, when everyone's evil, there can't be any alliance.
Yep.
Um, so I just don't see like there's not so much. I suppose what I'm saying is that it's not a social dynamic game where everyone's trying to make teams and alliances and work together and say, hey, yeah, his agenda's up here and I'm trying to do that. It plays perhaps faster and less complicated than that. But that is not a present aspect of the game. It really just comes down to a trick taking game.
Yes. The backstabbing is not really the mechanic of the game. It's more the theme of the game in the way you're moving those resources from red to yellow or whatever.
Right.
That's where
I mean,
that happens.
it could be, and it possibly should, because when someone reveals their agenda and they're getting 8 points from it, it should be that that draws more attention than practically it does. But it doesn't for us. It doesn't draw that attention. People are not like, hey, he's getting 8 points. We need to do whatever we can to make sure he doesn't get 8 points. Because people often like, how am I going to get my 8 points? Or how am I going to get my 14 points? Like, what can I do? How does that tie into me? So I feel like very often everyone's like, I'm going to get 8 points. Like, here's my thing. Stop me or
Mm-hmm.
don't. Like everyone's doing their own thing anyway. Like, I'm going to try and maximize my points from it, which takes away a little bit of it from me. I've tried doing other types of things with it, tried being a little more suggestive with making some more table talk or not doing those eight
Yep.
points. And I've just found like either going with 8 points each or 14 points is like just the way to do it, which, yeah, it's not an issue. It's just a comment. What is perhaps more of a comment is this idea that winning the trick matters so much less than playing with the power board.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you're actually trying to lose in that you're trying to play the worst card so that you could do more.
Well,
But if you win,
you're trying to play the lowest card to be able to manipulate the board as much as you can and
right?
perhaps not draw too many people's ire against you. If you're doing it all the time, like someone's going to start drawing ire. If you like have 6 and everyone else has 0, you're going to pull everyone's ire, and that's just not a good place to be, because then it's going to be 4 versus 1 and you just don't want that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, quite often you're like, I don't care. To call it a trick taking game, when the primary thing you want to do is not take tricks, is a little bit weird. I don't really care that much about taking tricks. I get 3 points for taking tricks over the course of the round, and I get 16 points for not taking tricks.
Yep.
It's not a trick taking game. It has trick taking elements, but it's not a trick taking game.
What is that trick taking game? I've played it. I haven't played it in years, but I played it a bunch where you get negative points for taking tricks. So taking tricks is bad, and if you like show your hand too early, suddenly everybody just piles on you and make sure that you keep winning the tricks, and you end up like negative 30 points or something like that. Oh,
I'm
what
not
was that
sure. I've
game?
known various
Oh
ones that do
hell,
things like
that
that.
might be oh hell. Yeah, Yeah, it is weird when it changes it around, especially if you're used to like playing games where you're trying to win a trick and suddenly you're not trying to win the trick. It's easy to mess that up.
Right. It's not the primary thing. Now,
Yeah,
then sometimes you do want to try and win tricks because that lets you determine who's going to win trick after you. Because the last thing
yep,
you do, as I mentioned, is you unplug one of the plugs. And so if I think that I'm going to control who wins the next trick, and I think that the person who's going to win or take the next trick is going to be X player, and I think X player is going to be highly incentivized to move around yellow, I don't want to leave red connected to yellow because I know they're going to take points away from me. So I'll leave white connected to yellow because I know that they want to give points to yellow, which will take points from white. And since I'm betting that white has very few points, then that means that
hmm,
white's doing better. So like you can have these machinations going on where theoretically I want to win to control the next turn a little bit, but that's only if you are right now also playing the least to be able to mess with the board to think about what's going on next. It just reduces a lot about trick taking and turns it just into card playing.
yeah. That's interesting. That does sound really interesting. And if you win, potentially you're setting up so the next trick you're better positioned to do whatever it is you want to do, whether it's to win again or lose, and get to play the lowest card.
Yeah.
But that's also hard to do because you could play your card, but it's not necessarily going to be the lowest. Somebody else may be able to have. Oh, but you know the colors people have. So if you have the lowest green in their hand, you know nobody else can play a lower green. You've got a good chance of getting that lowest thing. So yeah, there's a lot of thinking in that whole scene in the back. Now I can see how that could really matter a lot in this game. That's really interesting. Okay, so this
Yeah.
is a
That's
great
that.
multiplayer trick taking game.
Yeah, just to say for multiplayer, I really do enjoy it. Uh, and I hesitate again to call it a trick taking game. It's a card playing game. I enjoy the card playing. I enjoy the dynamic. There's push and pull for whether you want to go high or go low, how you want to arrange for all those things. Like those red ones, the two, the red one, the one, the two, the three. Those are really good cards. So that all makes sense. That all has a lot of fun in it. When you pop down and you win it, it feels really nice. There's a lot of movement, a lot of fun being able to play on the multiplayer. So I really enjoy the multiplayer. Let's talk about the solo.
Yes,
So
please.
for solo, you're going to be playing against two bot players. You are required to play, not that it matters that much, but just the way it arranges it. You are white. There's a red solo a bot to your left and a yellow solo bot to your right. And they're primarily going to be just doing some random stuff over the course of the game. You will shuffle up a hand for everyone. You get a full hand. They each get a full hand, and their hands are face down. So you see what stuff they have in each of their hands, and they lay it out in a whole row. Each of them has their own row. And each of them has an agenda card that is a specific agenda card that they get to use, where they want you to go down and them to go up. So both of their agendas are set over the course of the game. So not really messing with agendas or any of that secret type stuff. They
Mm-hmm.
just have set agendas that they want to do well and they want you to do poorly. Um, so they each have that card row that they mess with. When they are playing, if they're leading, the leftmost card is the one they lead with. They pull it, they play it, they go. If they're following, they follow suit if they can, playing the leftmost matching card. If they can't follow, they're going to try and trump. They don't trump if there's a brown suit that's sitting out there because they don't want to kill that. So they will try not to trump it, but otherwise they will theoretically try to trump if they can. And if they can't, it just plays the leftmost card. Right.
Okay.
So the
Simple
bots,
enough, yeah.
right. The bots are relatively simple enough in terms of taking a trick, in terms of playing a card. In terms of the control board, I found myself quite often like, let me just run through this list of things, which makes perfect sense. Every time if they win a trick, um, if they have a certain number of points, then they're going to want a point because if you're at 35 points, you always want to take a point. If you have less than 35 points, they want the one or two trump. They want the one or two cards. because they want to control the control board. As I mentioned, the cards you keep are the lower cards. So
Hmm.
they want those one or twos early game. Late game, they just want points. And so there's a little card that summarizes these things for you. So that's just what it is that they want. Then in terms of messing with the control board, there's a list. The first thing they want to do is they want to get power. If they can't, they want to take power away from you. Um, and if they can't do that, then they want to ruin your agenda cards. And if they can't do anything else, they just want to do something that is going to hurt the other bot. So primarily help themselves, secondarily hurt you, as a last resort, hurt the other robot. Um, and then they will move the bots completely at random. They will reveal a random agenda card, and they will move the cards to match uh, both of those agendas. So they theoretically get to do two in a round, just because they're bots and they're random and they just are doing random stuff. And then continue playing, just continue playing with that, and that is it. So you are theoretically doing a very limited amount of trick taking with some knowledge about what they have. You can keep track and be like, hey, I've seen the ones and the twos for this. I guess, statistically, what has a likely outcome of getting points, moving them over to here. Primarily, you're going to be messing around a lot with the power board to try and move the power. The biggest thing you're often doing is you want to move power when you move power, so that next time you'll be able to give a bot an opportunity to do something that is the least harmful to that is the least harmful to whatever it is that you're doing. So if you have an opportunity to mess with it such that the bot the next round is just going to be taking away power from the other bot, you let them go fight and not mess with you. Like, that's the goal you're constantly striving to do. So you're messing with the tricks to be able to do that. The game, I hesitate to say the game plays like the multiplayer, because it doesn't play like the multiplayer. It's all statistics. You're not playing any other cards. You're not reading the other player and trying to think, well, what is this person going to be doing in terms of what agenda it is that they have? Like, they are the simplest of the robot
Yeah.
players with a very simple method of playing a very simple game. They have laser focus. They're like, I'm going to help me and attack you. They're very simple minded creatures. So the game still plays really well at solo. Being able to mess with those cards and do all those things is fun. The game is already not a particularly complicated game to play at multiplayer. At multiplayer, you are playing, you're playing multi cards, and you're playing all those tricks. You're playing the cards out with the other player, and it matches my feelings from the multiplayer game in that it advertises itself as a trick taker in both multiplayer and solo, but doesn't feel like a trick taker, because often you don't care that much about the tricks until like the very end of the game. At the end of the game, you awfully care about the tricks. So
Or
it matches that.
because it's because of the solo game, it's a little more random. Does it feel like you're doing more trick taking than in the multiplayer? Like like you said, the multiplayer game doesn't feel like trick taking so much. It feels like you're doing stuff, and trick taking is part of it. It sounds like solo would feel the trick taking part would pop up more.
I don't know that it does, because I'm still trying to do, hey, I want to either be taking a turn where I'm winning a suit, I'm taking a turn where I'm losing a suit, or I'm taking a turn where I'm forcing the bots to burn cards. So, for example, I know I'm not going to do very much with a 5 red, but if I play 5 red, I know I'm going to burn all of the red cards out of the other player's hands, so that
Hmm.
later on I can do my 1 red and use my 1 red to go ahead and win a suit, even with just a 1 red, because I'm playing red and they've got nothing left in red suits, for example. So perhaps the trick taking methodologies are still there in solo, more so even than, there's a lot more logic and thinking and analysis that goes into it, more so than in multiplayer. But what's weird is just that it's not trick taking, It's the structure, the skeleton of trick taking with the idea of lead and follow suits that then lead into I don't care about the taking portion. It's the tricks and not the taking.
Okay, that's interesting. I thought it might come out more, but it sounds like nope.
It's the skeleton is there even stronger.
Right,
The
right.
logic is there even stronger. Perhaps for many solo games, it's like me for this, where I put a lot more thought into like being like, well, if I do this and then this and and stop and think about the game and strategize and plan more, which I don't always do when I'm playing multiplayer. I can sit and do all that thoughts and logic and planning that don't come out with the multiplayer. So I do a lot of that with solo, but the same thing about there's still no taking, there's just the tricking. I feel like I've now come in for a catchphrase for what this game is. It's the tricking and not the taking.
The trick. I like that. That's pretty clever. Okay, so overall, you like this game. You like it for multiplayer. What do you think of the solo game? Then is
uh,
it?
I think the solo game is still very fun. I think the solo game has an enjoyable uh, loop that goes on where you're trying to beat these robots. You have to play a round or two to be able to play the bot cleanly in terms of transferring power without having to refer back to that one reference card to be like, which one of these is it going to do now? Because it happens all the time where it's going to be doing something. You have to then assess, well, which one is it doing?
Mm-hmm.
So it takes you a good second. It's all very logical. It's all very clean. I've played many robots where the robots are not a logical, a sensible method of why it is that they're doing a thing. That makes perfect sense. They want their primary objective is to get points for themselves. Their secondary objective is to ruin you. Their third objective is to ruin the other player. Makes perfect sense. But to be able to assess it each time, you have a round or two until that starts becoming second nature. Until then, it feels clunky. But once you figure it out, all the clunk just disappears. So I think that for solo, it's also good. It's also very enjoyable. What perhaps for me, and I just have to have it be said, is I've said a number of times, trick taking feels like a very difficult thing to do for solo. It still is tough to do for here because the bots are so totally random, and what you're
Mm-hmm.
doing has a lot less control over what they're doing. It's the control board and the skeleton of the tricks that matter more so than the trick taking. And so perhaps this one is it works very well for solo, but only because the game does not feel like a trick taking game. That is as opposed to for Northwood, which to me is I think the only solo trick taking game that I've seen that feels like a trick taking game in solo. For Northwood is really, really good. Um, it,
Mm-hmm.
it it is both an excellent solo game and a very good trick taking game, and is solo only, and achieves what it set out to do, which is something that feels like trick taking and is still solo. This one is tricking and no taking. So the game is still really good. I still give it a good recommendation, but it doesn't quite fill the need for a trick taking game. It's just a very fun card play game with some trick taking skeletons on it.
Okay, fair enough. We need to dig in and find some more trick-taking games to try out and see if we could find another one for you, Julius.
You're saying, Albert, we need to find some additional trick taking solo games? I just don't think there are.
There's quite a few. There's a geek list of trick-taking solo games.
Is there?
There
Interesting.
is. I'll find it. Now I'll add it to the show notes. But there's a whole geek list for it. Do I have it bookmarked? I don't remember who. It probably like 100 episodes ago. We had the person that started the geek list as a guest on the show, and we talked about a trick taking game.
Hmm.
It's been a while. I'll have to. I'll look it up. I'll find it.
Well, maybe
I'll
we'll have
share
to
it.
take a look into that. But
Yeah.
at the very least, it's just it is a comparison from me with regard to this game, and just about how much is that I enjoy that.
Hmm. Well, so this ain't no trick, but it's time to go, Julius.
Hey, Albert,
Yes.
why was the robot a very bad actor?
Because it got swept away.
No, because it was far too mechanical.
Oh. Yeah. Okay.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Bye bye.